The alarm screamed through the bridge of the human exploration vessel Horizon. Captain Daehyun gripped his chair as the ship shuddered to a stop in the middle of empty space. His crew scrambled to their stations, confusion written across their faces. "What just happened?" Daehyun demanded. "Unknown object ahead, sir," reported the sensor officer. "It's massive. Must have pulled us out of faster-than-light travel automatically." On the main screen, a ship appeared. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The vessel stretched nearly 3 kilometers long, shaped like a curved blade made of dark metal that seemed to swallow light itself. But something was terribly wrong. Sections of the hull were torn open, venting atmosphere into space. Lights flickered and died along its surface. "It's dying," whispered Dr. Yuna from her medical station. "That ship is dying." Daehyun stared at the crippled vessel. Scorch marks covered its hull. Someone had attacked it with terrible weapons. "Can we identify the species?" "Negative, sir. It's not in any of our databases." Engineer Hyunwoo spoke up from the back of the bridge. "Captain, I'm detecting life signs. Faint, but they're there. Maybe 20 individuals still alive." Daehyun's second officer, Commander Park, moved closer to his chair. "Sir, Earth Command protocols are clear. Unknown alien contact requires us to observe and report only. No direct interaction." "They're dying out there," Yuna said softly. "That's not our problem," Park insisted. "We don't know these aliens. We don't know who attacked them or why. Getting involved could make humanity a target." Daehyun closed his eyes. Park was right about the protocols. Earth had only been traveling in deep space for 30 years. Humanity was still new to the galaxy, still learning which aliens were friendly and which were dangerous. Making enemies this early could doom the entire human race, but 20 living beings were dying right in front of them. "Prepare the medical bay," Daehyun ordered. "Hyunwoo, ready a towing cable." "Sir!" Park protested. "I heard you, Commander. Log my decision as against your advice." Daehyun looked at his crew. "But I won't watch them die when we can help. Yuna, take a team over there. Save whoever you can." The doctor nodded and rushed to prepare. Hyunwoo was already calculating the power needed to tow such a massive ship. It would drain their own energy reserves dangerously low, but it was possible. 30 minutes later, Yuna and her medical team floated through the shattered corridors of the alien vessel. The walls were covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly. The air was toxic to humans, so they kept their suits sealed tight. Bodies drifted in the zero gravity. Aliens with silver blue skin and 4 arms, their faces frozen in expressions of pain. "Over here," called one of the medics. "I found survivors." In what appeared to be the ship's command center, they found a group of aliens huddled together. Their breathing was shallow, their skin turning gray. The largest one opened eyes that were completely black like pools of deep space. "Please," the alien whispered in a language that Yuna's translator struggled to understand. "Let us die with honor. Do not prolong our suffering." "We're here to help," Yuna said, already scanning the alien's biology with her medical equipment. The readings made no sense. This species was completely different from anything humanity had encountered. She had no idea how their bodies worked. "Why?" the alien asked. "You are unknown to us. We can offer nothing." "You don't need to offer anything," Yuna replied. She looked at her team. "Get them to our ship. All of them. Move fast." The medical team worked quickly, carefully transporting the survivors through the destroyed ship. Meanwhile, Hyunwoo had attached massive cables to the alien vessel's hull. The Horizon's engines whined as they began pulling the enormous ship toward a nearby stable orbit around a dead moon. On the bridge, Daehyun watched their energy reserves drop. 50%, 40%, 30%. "Sir, if we go below 20%, we won't have enough power to reach the nearest human station," Park warned. "Noted," Daehyun said simply. 25%, 22%. Finally, the alien ship was in stable orbit. Hyunwoo released the cables. Their own ship had just enough power left to limp home. In the medical bay, Yuna worked frantically. Human medical technology wasn't designed for this alien biology, but she did her best. She administered broad-spectrum antibiotics, synthesized nutrients based on the alien's chemistry, and used every trick she knew. 2 of the aliens died despite her efforts. But slowly, impossibly, the others began to stabilize. 3 days passed. The human crew shared their limited food and water with the survivors. Engineer Hyunwoo even figured out how to jumpstart the alien ship's basic life support, though it would never fly again without major repairs. On the third evening, the largest alien, who seemed to be their leader, asked to meet Captain Daehyun. The alien was still weak, but he stood tall in the human medical bay, his forearms crossed over his chest in what seemed like a gesture of respect. "I am Kethara," the alien said, his voice deep and resonant, "elder of the Velthir Collective. For 3,000 years my people have traveled the stars. Never in all that time has another species aided us without demanding payment, territory, or servitude. We don't want anything," Daehyun said honestly. "You needed help. We could help. It's that simple." Kethara stared at the human captain for a long moment. "Simple," he repeated. "Your people are either very wise or very foolish. Perhaps both." He raised one of his four hands to his chest. Beneath the silver-blue skin, something glowed with purple light. "What you have done today will be recorded in the eternal registry of the Velthir. Your names, your species, your act of mercy. We will remember, Captain Daehyun. We will always remember." "It's really not necessary," Daehyun began. "It is everything," Kethara interrupted. His black eyes seemed to look through Daehyun into something beyond. "The Velthir never forget a debt. Never. This I swear by the old ways and the ancient laws. One day when your people need us, we will return. This is our sacred promise." 2 days later, another Velthir ship arrived. It was unmarked and appeared seemingly from nowhere, as if it had been invisible until that moment. The survivors were transferred, along with what could be salvaged from their destroyed vessel. Before Kethara left, he touched his hand to Daehyun's forehead. The purple light beneath his skin pulsed once, and Daehyun felt a strange warmth spread through his mind. "You are marked," Kethara said. "You and all your descendants. The Velthir will know you." Then they were gone, vanishing into the depths of space as mysteriously as they had appeared. Back on Earth, Daehyun faced an inquiry board. He was reprimanded for violating first contact protocols, given a formal warning, and reassigned to less critical duties. His crew was scattered to different posts. The incident was classified and filed away. Humanity continued its slow expansion into the galaxy. The Velthir were noted in the alien database as a mysterious species with advanced technology, but they were never seen again. After a few years, they became just another strange story from the early days of space exploration. Captain Daehyun retired 20 years later. He never forgot the alien with 4 arms and eyes like black space who had promised to remember. But as decades passed and nothing happened, he began to think it had all been a beautiful gesture and nothing more. He was wrong. The Velthir never forget. 75 years had passed since the Velthir encounter. Humanity had grown. The species that once huddled on a single planet now spread across 42 star systems. Colonies thrived on distant worlds, and human ships traveled freely through known space. Commander Taeyang stood on the observation deck of New Jeju, watching the sunset over endless fields of golden grain. The agricultural colony fed 17 other human worlds. 12 million people called this place home. Children played in the parks. Families gathered for evening meals. It was peaceful, prosperous, and safe, or at least it had been until yesterday. "Commander, you need to see this," said his assistant, rushing onto the deck with a data tablet. Taeyang took the device and read the message. His blood ran cold. "When did this arrive?" 6 hours ago. It's been sent to every human colony and station." The message was simple and terrifying. The Krova's empire demanded the immediate surrender of 3 major human colonies, including New Jeju. Humanity had 1 week to comply. If they refused, the Krovas would take the colonies by force and enslave the populations. Taeyang had heard of the Krovas. Everyone had. They were one of the most powerful military empires in the known galaxy. Their ships were massive, their weapons devastating, and their leader, Supreme Warlord Drakthos, was known for his cruelty. They had conquered 17 species over the past 200 years. "What does Earth say?" Taeyang asked quietly. "The unified fleet is mobilizing." "But Commander," the assistant hesitated, "our intelligence says we can't win. The Krovas have 3,000 warships. We have maybe 400, and most of those are exploration vessels with light weapons." Taeyang looked out at the fields again. By this time next week, all of this could be gone. The children, the families, the peaceful life they had built, all of it could burn. On Stellar Crossing Station, a massive space station that served as a diplomatic hub for dozens of alien species, Ambassador Nari was trying desperately to find help. She had spent 3 days meeting with representatives from every major power in the region. The response was always the same: sympathy, but no action. "We understand your situation," said the Thoraxian ambassador, a being that looked like a walking crystal formation. "But the Krovas are too powerful. We cannot risk war with them over human territory." "We're not asking you to fight," Nari pleaded. "Just support us politically. Send a message that the galaxy won't tolerate this aggression." "The galaxy tolerates many things, Ambassador Nari. It must, to survive." The Thoraxian's crystalline body chimed sadly as it moved. "I am sorry, truly, but my government will not help." It was the same everywhere. Fear of the Krovas kept everyone silent. Nari's junior diplomat, Jisu, had one last idea. "What if we negotiate directly with the Krovas? Maybe we can find a compromise." "Worth trying," Nari said, though she had little hope. They arranged a video conference with a Krovas representative. The alien that appeared on screen was massive, with thick armor-like skin and 6 eyes arranged across a broad skull. When it spoke, its voice rumbled like an avalanche. "You wish to negotiate?" The Krovas officer laughed. "How amusing. Very well. Here is our negotiation. Surrender now and we will be merciful. We will only enslave half your population. Resist and we will take everything and everyone. These are your options." "Those aren't options, that's an ultimatum," Jisu said angrily. "Correct. You are a weak species on valuable worlds. The strong take from the weak. This is the law of the galaxy." "There are other laws," Nari said. "The Galactic Council has rules against aggressive expansion. The Council makes suggestions, not laws. They will express concern, file a protest, and do nothing, just like everyone else." The Krovas officer leaned closer to the camera. "You have 6 days remaining. Use them to say goodbye to your colonies. Drakthos does not negotiate with prey." The screen went dark. Jisu slammed his fist on the table. 600 years of civilization, and the galaxy is still ruled by bullies. Nari sat in silence. She was thinking of New Jeju, where her cousin lived with his 3 children. She was thinking of all the human worlds that would burn, and she was thinking that sometimes being the good species, the peaceful species, meant you died while others watched. Back on Earth, Admiral Wujin gathered the fleet commanders in a secure room. The holographic display showed their forces compared to the Krovas armada. The numbers were devastating. "We can't win a direct battle," Wujin said bluntly, "but we can make it costly for them. We'll set up defensive positions around the 3 colonies. When they arrive, we'll hit them with everything we have." "It'll be a slaughter," said one of the commanders. "Our slaughter." "Yes," Wujin agreed. "But we're going to do it anyway. Because those are our people on those worlds and we don't abandon them." The commanders nodded. They all knew this was a suicide mission. But they also knew they had no choice. Sometimes you fight even when you know you'll lose because the alternative is to surrender without trying. Plans were made. Ships were positioned. Families on the targeted colonies were told to prepare for evacuation. But everyone knew there weren't enough ships to save everyone. Millions would have to stay and face whatever came. On New Jeju, Taiyang organized the civil defense. They had never been a military colony, but they could still fight. Citizens were armed with whatever weapons they could find. Trenches were dug. Shelters were reinforced. Nobody talked about winning. They only talked about making the Krovas pay for every meter of ground. A young woman named Minji, who had been a farming equipment technician, now trained with an old plasma rifle. "Will it hurt?" she asked Taiyang. "When they come?" "I don't know," Taiyang admitted. He had always been honest with his people. "But we'll face it together." 5 days passed, then 6. The deadline was almost here. In space above New Jeju, Admiral Wujin positioned his small fleet. 400 ships against 3,000. He thought about his daughter safe on Earth. He thought about all the people counting on him. And he thought about how humanity had tried so hard to be peaceful, to be good neighbors in a dangerous galaxy. Maybe that had been their mistake. "Sir, sensors are picking up something," reported the tactical officer. "Multiple ships dropping out of faster than light. They're appearing at the system's edge." "Here they come," Wujin said quietly. "All ships battle stations." But then the sensor officer said something strange. "Sir, these aren't Krovas ships. I don't recognize the signature at all." On the main screen, a ship appeared. It was shaped like a curved blade made of dark metal, enormous and ancient. More ships appeared beside it, dozens of them, then hundreds. Admiral Wu Jin stared at the vessels. Something about them seemed familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Then his communications console lit up with an incoming message. The face that appeared on screen made his breath catch in his throat. It was an alien with silver-blue skin, 4 arms, and eyes like pools of black space. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Velmara, elder of the Velthir Collective. 75 years ago, one of your captains saved my predecessor's life when no other species would help. The debt was recorded in our eternal registry. That debt is now being repaid." Wujin felt his heart hammering. The Velthir, the mysterious aliens from that old classified file, they had returned. "The Krovis Empire has threatened those under our protection," Velmara continued. "This cannot be tolerated. Stand down, humans. You will not fight alone today." On New Jeju, Taeyang watched the same message broadcast across the colony. Around him, people began to cry with relief. Minji dropped her rifle and sat down hard, overwhelmed. "Who are they?" someone asked. "I don't know," Taeyang said. "But I think maybe, just maybe, we're going to be okay." In the darkness of space, the Velthir fleet waited. And somewhere beyond the system's edge, the Krovis Armada was coming, unaware that they had just made the worst mistake in their empire's history. Admiral Wujin had fought in 3 border conflicts during his career. He had seen alien technology that amazed him, and weapons that terrified him, but nothing had prepared him for what he was witnessing now. The Velthir ships weren't just appearing in normal space. They were phasing into existence as if they had been there all along, but invisible. Hundreds of vessels, each one massive and ancient, surrounding the human fleet like protective guardians. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Wu Jin ordered. "They need to know about this now." Within minutes, the message reached Earth. The response came from the highest level of government. They wanted to meet with the Velthir immediately. They needed to understand what was happening. Velmara agreed to a face-to-face meeting. But there was one condition. "We request the presence of Dr. Hana Kim. She is the daughter of Dr. Yuna Kim, who saved Velthir lives 75 years ago. This concerns her family's legacy." Earth Command scrambled to find Dr. Hana. She was 83 years old now, retired from active medical practice and living quietly in a coastal town. When the government officials arrived at her door, she thought they were joking. "The Velthir?" Hana said, pouring tea for the flustered officials in her living room. "I remember my mother's stories about them. But that was so long ago. Why would they remember us?" "Apparently they never forget," said the senior official. "Dr. Kim, your planet needs you. Will you come?" Hana looked at the old photograph on her wall. It showed her mother, Dr. Yuna, in her medical uniform, standing proudly beside Captain Daehyun and the crew of the Horizon. They all looked so young in that picture. Most of them were dead now. "Yes," Hana said softly. "I'll come." 2 days later, Hana stood on the bridge of Admiral Wu Jin's flagship as it approached the Velthir formation. She had never been in space before. At her age, the journey was physically difficult, but she refused to complain. If the Velthir had traveled across the galaxy to honor her mother's memory, the least she could do was meet them. A Velthir transport ship came alongside the human vessel. The docking procedure was smooth, almost effortless. The Velthir technology made human engineering look primitive by comparison. When the airlock opened, Hana got her first look at the aliens her mother had saved. Velmara was tall, nearly 3 meters, with silver-blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. The 4 arms moved with grace, and those black eyes held a depth that made Hana feel like she was looking into the universe itself. "Dr. Hana Kim," Velmara said, bowing deeply. All 4 arms crossed over the Velthir's chest in a gesture of profound respect. "You honor us with your presence." "I'm just an old woman," Hana said with a small smile. "You're the ones who traveled so far." "Not far enough or fast enough," Velmara replied. "Please come aboard our vessel. There is much to discuss." Hana, Admiral Wu Jin, and a small delegation of human officials crossed into the Velthir ship. The interior was beautiful, filled with soft purple light and walls covered in flowing symbols that seemed alive. They were led to a chamber that felt like a temple and a command center at the same time. 75 years ago, Velmara began. Elder Cathara and 19 other Velthir were ambushed by Krovis raiders. They were left to die in the void. "Your mother, Dr. Yuna, saved them," Your engineer, Hyunwoo, risked his ship to give them sanctuary. Your Captain Daehyun ignored his orders to help strangers who could offer him nothing. Hana nodded. My mother told me the story many times. She said it was the proudest moment of her career. She expected nothing in return, Velmara said. That is what made the act sacred. In our culture, such debts are recorded in the eternal registry. They are not forgotten, not ever. They pass from generation to generation until they are repaid. Admiral Wu Jin spoke carefully. Elder Velmara, we're grateful for your protection, but we need to understand what's happening. The Krovus Empire is one of the most powerful forces in this region. If you protect us, you're making them your enemy. They were already our enemy, Velmara said simply. It was Krovus raiders who attacked Cathara's ship 75 years ago. They have been a plague on the galaxy for centuries. We have watched them expand, conquer, and enslave. We chose not to intervene because the Velthir do not rule others or force our will on the galaxy. Then why intervene now? Asked one of the human officials. Velmara turned those deep black eyes on the official. Because they threatened you, and you are under our protection, whether you knew it or not. The moment Cathara marked your Captain Daehyun in the Eternal Registry, all of humanity became sacred to us. Hana felt tears forming. We never expected anything. We were just doing what we thought was right. Precisely, Velmara said softly. That is why the debt must be honored. Only those who expect no reward show true compassion. You are rare in this galaxy, humans. Rarer than you know. The Velthir Elder activated a holographic display. It showed the Krovus Armada, 3,000 ships strong, approaching human space. They will arrive in one day. We have already broadcast a warning across all known space. Any attack on humanity is now an attack on the Velthir Collective. Most species will understand what this means. The Krovus, in their arrogance, may not. What will you do if they attack? Wu Jin asked. Whatever is necessary, Velmara replied. But understand this, Admiral. We do not seek bloodshed. Our power is not in destruction, but in protection. If the Krovus can be made to stand down without violence, we will pursue that path. And if they can't, Velmara's expression became hard. Then they will learn why the Velthir have survived for 5,000 years, while empires rose and fell around us. They will learn that mercy is not weakness, and that those who mistake kindness for vulnerability pay a terrible price. The meeting continued for hours. The Velthir explained their technology, though they wouldn't share the details. They showed maps of their territory, revealing for the first time that they controlled not a handful of worlds but nearly 800 planets across 200 star systems. The Velthir Collective was massive, perhaps the largest single civilization in the known galaxy. Why hide all this? Hana asked. With this much power, you could have brought peace to the galaxy long ago. Peace cannot be imposed, Velmara said. It must be chosen. We learned this lesson millennia ago. We can protect, but we cannot rule. Each species must find its own path. Will you share your technology with us? Asked one of the officials eagerly. No, Velmara said firmly. You must grow on your own. But know this, you will never stand alone again. The Velthir will watch over you. When you face threats you cannot overcome, we will be there. This is our promise, sealed in the eternal registry and bound by honor older than your species. As the meeting ended, Hana approached Velmara privately. Can I ask you something? Why does your culture value debt so much? Velmara was quiet for a moment, then gestured to the stars visible through the ship's transparent walls. Look at the galaxy, Dr. Kim. It is full of species that take what they want through force. Conquerors, slavers, those who see compassion as weakness. If we let those who show mercy be destroyed, if we allow kindness to become extinct, then what hope is there? The Velthir protect not just you, but the idea of you. The possibility that goodness can survive in a dark universe. Hana wiped her eyes. My mother would have been proud to hear that. Your mother was extraordinary, as are you for coming here despite your age. Velmara placed one hand gently on Hana's shoulder. Return to your people, daughter of Yuna. Tell them the Velthir remember. Tell them they are safe. As the human delegation returned to their ship, Admiral Wu Jin looked at the Velthir fleet surrounding them. Hundreds of ancient vessels, each one containing technology and knowledge far beyond human understanding. I can't believe this is happening, he said to Hana. One act of kindness, 75 years ago, and now this. Hana smiled. My mother used to say that kindness is never wasted. I guess she was right. In space, the Velthir ships took up positions around every human colony and station. Their presence was broadcast across the galaxy. Everyone now knew humanity was under the protection of the Velthir Collective. Most species sent congratulations and messages of goodwill. A few sent warnings to the Krovas to stand down, but Supreme Warlord Drakthos only laughed when he received the messages. The Velthir, he had never heard of them. They were probably some minor species trying to bluff their way into importance. The Krovas Empire feared no one. His armada continued toward human space, weapons ready, confident in their power. They had no idea they were flying toward their doom. The Krovas armada was a sight that inspired terror across the galaxy. 3,000 warships moved through space like a swarm of massive insects. Each vessel bristled with weapons capable of turning planets into ash. At the center of the formation flew the flagship Dominator, a mobile fortress the size of a small moon. On the bridge of the Dominator, Supreme Warlord Drakthos sat on his command throne, reviewing the battle plans. He was enormous even by Krovas standards. Standing nearly 4 meters tall with 6 powerful arms and armor-plated skin that had survived 100 battles, his 6 eyes glowed red with anticipation. "Status report," Drakthos growled. "We will reach the first human colony in 12 hours, Supreme Warlord," his tactical officer reported. "Our scouts confirm the humans have positioned their fleet to defend. 400 ships against our 3,000. Drakthos laughed, a sound like grinding stones. Brave but foolish. And what of these Velthir who claim to protect them? Unknown, Supreme Warlord. We have no data on this species. They appeared suddenly and positioned several hundred ships around human space. Probably mercenaries the humans hired," Drakthos said dismissively. "Or some weak species trying to gain favor with the humans. Either way, they will die with their employers. Should we attempt communication with them, Supreme Warlord?" "No, we communicate only with our weapons. Send a final message to the human leadership. Tell them they have 6 hours to surrender their colonies. After that, we take everything by force." The message was sent. Earth Command received it in stunned silence. Admiral Wujin read it aloud to his fleet commanders. 6 hours. They're giving us 6 hours. Around the conference table, the human officers looked grim. They had hoped the Velthir presence would make the Krovas reconsider. Clearly it hadn't. "What did the Velthir say?" asked one commander. "Elder Velmara sent us a message," Wujin replied. "She says to hold position but not to fire unless directly attacked. The Velthir will handle the Krovas. Handle 3,000 warships? How, she didn't say. But she seemed confident. On New Jeju, Commander Taeyang watched the countdown timer. 6 hours until the deadline. The evacuation ships had taken as many people as possible, mostly children and the elderly. 8 million people remained on the planet. They had nowhere else to go. Lieutenant Minji stood beside him, her farming equipment forgotten, now wearing a militia uniform that didn't quite fit. "Do you think the Velthir can really protect us?" "I hope so," Taeyang said honestly. "Because if they can't, we're all dead by tomorrow." In orbit above them, the Velthir fleet maintained its position. The ship seemed to hum with barely contained energy. Inside the lead vessel, Velmara stood in the command center, surrounded by her advisors. "The Krovas are arrogant," said one of the Velthir officers. "They truly believe they can win this battle." "Arrogance is their weakness," Velmara replied. "But we will give them one final chance. We do not seek war if it can be avoided." 5 hours passed. Then 4. The tension was unbearable. With 2 hours remaining, Velmara opened a direct communication channel to the Krovas flagship. Drakthos appeared on the screen, his 6 eyes glowing with contempt. "So the mysterious Velthir finally show themselves." He sneered. "You have made a grave error, alien. The Krovas Empire does not tolerate interference." "I am Velmara, elder of the Velthir Collective," she said calmly. "Supreme Warlord Drakthos, your empire has issued an ultimatum to a species under our protection. This is unacceptable. Withdraw your forces immediately and no harm will come to you." Drakthos laughed. "You think you can threaten me? I command 3,000 warships. I see perhaps 500 of yours. You are outnumbered 6-1. "Numbers are not everything," Velmara said quietly. "They are everything in war." Drakthos roared. "I have conquered 17 species. I have burned 100 worlds. Who are you to stand against the might of the Krovas Empire?" "We are those who remember debts," Velmara replied. 75 years ago, Krovas raiders attacked a Velthir ship and left our people to die. Humans saved them when no one else would. That act created a sacred bond. You threaten those we are sworn to protect. Then you will die with them, Drakthos said. I give you one chance, Velthir. Withdraw now or be destroyed. Velmara's black eyes seemed to deepen, becoming darker than space itself. We give you the same choice, Supreme Warlord. This is your final warning. Leave human space immediately, or face consequences beyond your imagination. I have imagined quite a lot, Drakthos said. Weapons officer, target their flagship. Let's show them what consequences really look like. A massive energy beam lanced out from the Dominator, powerful enough to cut a planet in half. It struck the Velthir ship directly, and passed through it like it wasn't there. On the Dominator's bridge, confusion erupted. What happened? Drakthos demanded. Unknown, Supreme Warlord. Our sensors say the ship is there, but our weapons can't touch it. Velmara's voice came through the communication channel, calm and sad. You had your chance, Drakthos. The Velthir offered mercy. You chose war. So be it. The communication ended. Throughout the Krovis Armada, sensor officers began shouting warnings. The Velthir ships were changing. They were phasing, becoming translucent and then splitting. What had appeared to be 500 ships suddenly became 5,000, then 10,000. The space around the Krovis fleet filled with Velthir vessels appearing from nowhere. It's impossible, the tactical officer screamed. Where are they all coming from? All ships, open fire, Drakthos roared. Destroy them all! The Krovis Armada unleashed everything they had. Thousands of weapons fired simultaneously, turning space itself into a storm of energy and destruction. It was the kind of firepower that could obliterate entire solar systems. Every shot passed harmlessly through the Velthir ships. Not a single vessel was damaged. Then the Velthir attacked, but they didn't fire weapons. Instead, they phased back into normal space directly inside the Krovis formation. Velthir ships appeared next to, above, below, and even within the Krovis vessels. Blue energy fields erupted from the Velthir fleet, washing over the Krovis Armada like a gentle wave. On the bridge of the Dominator, Drakthos felt his body become heavy. His muscles wouldn't respond. Around him, his crew collapsed, unconscious but unharmed. The ship's weapons powered down. The engines went silent. Everything stopped working. Through the view screen, he watched as the same thing happened to his entire fleet. 3,000 mighty warships reduced to floating metal coffins in seconds. Not destroyed. Not damaged, simply turned off. What are you? Drakthos whispered as consciousness left him. In the human fleet, Admiral Wujin watched in absolute disbelief. What just happened? The Krovis Armada is completely disabled, sir. The sensor officer reported, his voice shaking. No casualties, no damage. They're just offline. All 3,000 ships. On New Jeju, Taiyang stared at the sky where the battle should have been raging. There had been no explosions, no destruction. Just a brief flash of blue light and then nothing. Is it over? Minji asked. I think so, Taiyang said slowly. I think the Velthir just won the battle without fighting. Lieutenant Minji started to laugh. Then she started to cry. Around her, other people did the same. The relief was overwhelming. Velmara's voice broadcast across all channels, human and Krovis alike. The battle is over. No lives have been lost. The Krovis crews are in stasis and will wake in time. But their ships will remain disabled. Supreme Warlord Drakthos, you attacked those under Velthir protection. You ignored our warnings. Now you will face judgment. In the Dominator, Drakthos struggled back to consciousness. He found himself restrained in a chair, but not with physical bonds. Energy fields held him gently but completely. Velmara stood before him, along with representatives from dozens of species, including humans. Admiral Wujin and Dr. Hana were there watching. What is this? Drakthos demanded. This is justice, Velmara said simply. For 75 years, the Krovis Empire has terrorized the galaxy. You have conquered, enslaved, and destroyed. You have ignored every law and every plea for mercy. Today that ends. You cannot judge me, Drakthos roared. I am Supreme Warlord of the Krovis Empire. You were, Velmara corrected. Now you are a prisoner, and your empire is about to learn what it means to face consequences. Drakthos looked at the assembled aliens, seeing fear and hatred in their eyes, and for the first time in his long, violent life, the Supreme Warlord felt something he thought he had forgotten. He felt afraid. The Krovis homeworld had never seen a foreign fleet in its skies. For 300 years they had been the conquerors, the feared, the unstoppable. Now thousands of Veltir ships surrounded their planet like a crown of judgment. On the surface, in the grand assembly hall where the Crovus leadership gathered, panic had replaced arrogance. Supreme Warlord Drakthos was gone, taken prisoner along with the entire battle fleet. The secondary commanders argued frantically about what to do. "We should mobilize our planetary defenses," shouted General Krath, his forearms gesturing wildly. "And accomplish what?" snapped Admiral Vorn. "Did you see what happened to our armada? They disabled 3,000 ships in seconds. Our weapons cannot even touch them." The argument stopped when a Veltir ship descended through the atmosphere. It landed softly in the plaza outside the assembly hall. No weapons fired at it. Everyone understood that resistance was pointless. From the ship emerged Velmara, flanked by Veltir guards. But she was not alone. Admiral Wujin walked beside her along with Ambassador Nari, Dr. Hana, and representatives from 17 other species that the Crovus had conquered over the centuries. The assembly hall doors opened to receive them. The Crovus leaders stood in silence as the delegation entered. Velmara walked to the center of the chamber, her forearms spread wide. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the room and was broadcast across the entire planet. "I am Velmara, elder of the Veltir Collective. I come bearing judgment. You have no authority here," one of the Crovus generals shouted. "This is our world." "This is one world among thousands," Velmara replied calmly. "And every single one of you will hear what I have to say." She activated a holographic display that filled the air above them. It showed the Crovus Empire's history of conquest, planet by planet, species by species. The enslaved populations, the destroyed cultures, the millions dead. For 3 centuries, the Crovus Empire has brought nothing but suffering to this galaxy. You have taken what you wanted through force, believing that might made right. You have ignored every law, every plea, every attempt at peace. You have made yourselves the enemies of all decent species. We are strong. Drakthos suddenly appeared, still restrained but defiant. The Veltir had brought him here to face his people. The strong rule. "This is the way of nature." "No," said a quiet voice. Dr. Hana stepped forward, an elderly human woman facing the massive warrior. "That is the way of beasts. Civilized beings are supposed to be better than that." Drakthos laughed bitterly. "Civilized? Look at your galaxy. Everywhere species fight for territory, resources, survival. We simply do it more efficiently than others." "And where has it gotten you?" Admiral Wujin asked. He gestured to the Veltir ships visible through the windows. "You built an empire on fear and violence. It took the Veltir 17 minutes to dismantle it completely. Your entire fleet, centuries of military power, gone in less time than it takes to eat a meal." The Crovus leaders shifted uncomfortably. The truth of it was crushing. Velmara spoke again. "The Veltir Collective is older than your empire. We have watched civilizations rise and fall for 5,000 years. We have seen countless species like yours who believed that strength alone mattered. Do you know what happened to all of them?" Silence. "They destroyed themselves," Velmara said. "Or they changed. Those are the only 2 outcomes for species like yours. Today you will choose which path to take." "Choose?" Drakthos said mockingly. "You defeated us. Just destroy us and be done with it. That is what we would do." "We know," Velmara said sadly. "That is why you must change. The Crovus Empire ends today, but the Crovus people do not have to end. You have 2 choices." She raised one hand and the holographic display changed. It now showed 2 different futures. Choice 1, your empire dissolves. Your military is disbanded. Your conquered territories are freed. You will submit to a galactic peacekeeping council for the next 50 years, while you learn to coexist peacefully with other species. This will be difficult. This will be humiliating. But you will survive. And perhaps one day you will be welcomed back into galactic society as equals rather than conquerors. "Never," someone shouted from the Crovus leadership. Velmara continued as if there had been no interruption. Choice 2. If you refuse to change, the Velthir will surround your worlds with phase barriers. You will be completely isolated from the rest of the galaxy. No ships in or out, no communication, no contact. For 5 generations, you will be alone with the empire you built. By the time the barriers come down, everyone who remembers your conquest will be dead. You will start again from nothing. The silence that followed was absolute. 5 generations of isolation. It was a death sentence for everything the Crovus had built. "That is not a choice," Drakthos said quietly. "That is surrender or extinction." "No," Dr. Hana said. That is consequences. My species has an old saying, you reap what you sow. For 300 years you sowed violence. Now you must reap the harvest. Ambassador Nari stepped forward, representing the 17 conquered species. If you choose the first option, we will help you. Not because we forgive what you did. We don't. But because we believe even you can change. Why would you help us? Asked one of the Krovas generals, genuinely confused. Because that is what civilized beings do, Nari replied. We help even when it's hard. Even when it's not deserved. That is what separates us from you. Velmara gave them time to consider. The Krovas' leadership argued for hours. Some wanted to fight, to die with honor rather than submit. Others saw the wisdom in survival. Eventually, with Drakthos stripped of power and placed in permanent custody, the Krovas made their choice. They would submit to the Peacekeeping Council. They would disband their military. They would free their conquered territories. It would take decades, perhaps centuries, to rebuild their culture. But they would try. The announcement went out across the galaxy. The Krovas Empire, one of the most feared powers in known space, had fallen without a single drop of blood being spilled. Species that had lived in terror for generations celebrated. The conquered worlds began the long process of rebuilding. And everywhere, people asked the same question. Who were the Velthir? Velamara answered that question in a broadcast to the entire galaxy. Standing beside Admiral Wujin and Dr. Hana, she explained the Velthir philosophy. We are not rulers, she said. We are not conquerors. For 5,000 years, the Velthir have watched the galaxy from the shadows. We have remained hidden because we learned long ago that power must be used wisely, or not at all. We do not interfere in the natural development of species. We do not force our will on others. Then why reveal yourselves now? A reporter asked. Because humanity earned our protection, Velmara replied. She turned to Dr. Hana. 75 years ago, a human ship encountered a dying Velthir vessel. They could have passed by. They could have ignored us. Instead, they risked everything to save strangers who could offer them nothing in return. That act of pure compassion was recorded in our eternal registry. It became a sacred debt. Dr. Hana spoke, her voice wavering with emotion. We didn't do it for a reward. We did it because it was right, precisely, Velmara said. And that is why the debt was sacred. The Velthir will always protect those who show mercy, without expecting reward. You asked why we revealed ourselves now? Because the Krovas threatened those under our protection. We could not allow that. Admiral Wujin added, The Velthir have shown us that true power isn't about conquest or domination. It's about protection. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. The broadcast continued with Velmara revealing some of the Velthir territory for the first time. The holographic display showed 847 worlds across 200 star systems. The Velthir collective was massive, perhaps the largest single civilization in the galaxy. They had simply chosen to remain hidden. Why hide all this? Someone asked. Because visibility invites conflict, Velmara explained. If others knew our true strength, they would either challenge us or beg us to solve their problems. We wish to do neither. We will protect those who deserve protection. We will stop those who threaten the innocent. But we will not rule. Each species must find its own path. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. The Krovas' territories were freed. The Velthir helped establish new governments and defense agreements. They did not take control. They simply ensured stability until the freed species could stand on their own. Humanity's status in the galaxy changed dramatically. Species that had ignored human calls for help now sent ambassadors and trade delegations. The protection of the Velthir made humanity valuable allies. But the Velthir made their position clear. They would not share their advanced technology with humans or anyone else. You must grow at your own pace, Velmara told Earth's leaders. Technological advancement without cultural wisdom leads to disaster. You will develop naturally as you should. Will you leave now? Dr. Hana asked during their final meeting. Return to your hidden worlds? We will become less visible, Velmara said. But we will never be far. If humanity faces threats it cannot overcome, we will be there. This is our promise, bound by honor and recorded in the eternal registry. How can we ever repay you? Admiral Wujin asked.